All right. I often talk about how we need term limits. In the case of Ohio, we definitely need term limits. I'm going to be going over some of the biggest stories in the news. To help me do that, I have my special guest, Bernie Moreno. Bernie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Stephen.
So, just some background on you. Bernie is a business owner, entrepreneur with decades of business experience. He's running to unseat the Democrat senator in Ohio, Senator Sherrod Brown, who's been, I think, running for office since Nixon. So he's like a dinosaur. He's been in there for a really long time. We're hoping that you will work in Washington, D.C., side by side with Senator JD Vance, unless he's picked to be vice president. But thank you again for coming on.
No, thank you. You talked about term limits. I'm the chair of U.S. term limits for Ohio. I think we have to get back to the model our founders showed us, which is do something in the private sector, go to D.C. to serve, and then come home. Now, Stephen, obviously we don't know each other that well, and obviously you wouldn't know my wife, but if she were here, she would say, if we have the honor of being elected, I'll serve for 2 terms, and a 3rd term would be with my second wife. So this is definitely about serving for a period of time and then coming home for me.
Yeah, it's amazing. How long has Senator Brown been involved in DC politics?
So he went to Yale University, majored in Russian studies, went into elected office when Richard Nixon was in the White House, served for 20 years in state government, 12 years in Congress, now 18 years in the Senate, almost 50 years. And believe it or not, Stephen, he wants 6 more. This is exactly what's wrong with our government. We need to get rid of these guys and put people in there who are going there to actually make a difference, make the country stronger and better, and then come home under the very laws they've passed.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that people really liked about President Trump was decades of business experience. You also have decades of business experience, and I think that makes you a huge asset to the American people and Washington, D.C., where so many of these people, they come out of college, like AOC, no real life experience other than being a bartender, I think, comes in and then starts telling everybody, how to run the government, but she has no real life experience. You are bringing decades of business experience to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, unlike AOC, Sherrod Brown has never had a job at all, not even as a waiter, not even as a kid working. This is a guy who's been in elected office literally his entire life. And by the way, he's a chairman of the banking committee. So what the heck does this guy know about how the American banking system works? Again, this guy's a dinosaur. He's actually an old commie, and we have to get rid of him. We'll do that in November. Chuck Schumer cannot be the majority leader when President Trump's back in the White House. And that decision comes through Ohio. I win this race. The Republicans are in a majority. Sherrod Brown gets reelected for another 6 years on top of his 50. And Chuck Schumer is the majority leader. That is an untenable situation.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it that way, we definitely got to get you into office. What was it like for you and your wife to receive news that you had the full endorsement of President Trump for your run for Senate?
Well, it was a great evening. President Trump called me with JD Vance that evening to let me know. I've built a relationship with President Trump over the last 2 or 3 years. He's a great man. I wish the entirety of the American public knew him like I know him. He's a patriot, a good human being, an amazing dad. This is the stark contrast with Joe Biden, who's a disaster in every way possible. But let me just say this. President Trump's endorsement is the most powerful endorsement in modern American history. Probably never been anything like it, and most likely won't be anything after he's gone. So super proud to have his endorsement. We're going to win this state in a big way for President Trump, probably by 10 to 15 points, and certainly we'll win the Senate seat the same way.
Yeah, the more red we can turn Ohio, the better. You brought up Chuck Schumer. The Senate Majority Leader recently said America needs to provide a path to citizenship for the 20 or so million illegals, or else we can't have a good life anymore. So he wants Biden to continue to flood the country with illegal immigrants. And Chuck Schumer has openly admitted that he wants to give them citizenship. Is this whole thing about tipping the scales in favor of Democrat votes? What are your thoughts on his words?
No, absolutely. That's what it's about. Stephen, I came here from Colombia, South America with my 5 brothers, my sister, my mom and dad legally. To watch this country reward those who cut the line, who come here the wrong way, come here for handouts, to have this country actually reward people that have gotten out of jails in Venezuela or Guatemala, wherever they came from, and be given better benefits, better taken care of than even veterans in this country, is infuriating. It degrades what it means to those of us who swore our oath to this country when we became citizens the right way. We need to have immigration that benefits this country, where English is our official language, where people come here to assimilate and add to our economy, not to take from it. This is an extraordinarily personal issue for me. We have to get that back on track. And what Chuck Schumer said is disgusting. It's wrong, but at least he said the quiet part out loud. This is about them wanting to do whatever it takes to maintain power in this country. We're not going to let them do that.
Yeah, if you could come up with a scheme that would suddenly rush 20 to 30 million votes your way, of course you would do it. You would do everything that you could, right? I don't know if you saw this. You brought up the Venezuelan prisons. There was literally an illegal immigrant from Venezuela on TikTok that was teaching other people how to milk the welfare system, WIC, how to get benefits, just cash flowing in so that he didn't have to get a job. And then the last straw, he's gratefully been arrested, but the last straw is he started using TikTok to show people how to steal people's houses by being a squatter. I mean, we cannot have people coming into the country stealing American assets and draining our financial resources from our veterans and our senior citizens.
Oh, no question. And by the way, that person was here in Columbus, Ohio. So when we talk about Ohio not being a border state, it absolutely is. Every city, every state in the country is now a border state thanks to Joe Biden and Sherrod Brown's invasion of this country. Again, it's disgusting to see that as a legal immigrant. It degrades all of us to watch something like that happen. As you may know, crime in Caracas, Venezuela, is down almost 70+% because they've quite literally emptied their jails and psychiatric facilities. Those people have moved into Colombia right next door, and then the Colombian government is aiding and abetting moving all those people across the Darien Gap up to Mexico into America. What kind of lunatic country would allow something like that to happen? Other countries dumping their worst citizens and making America a dumping yard for criminals and psychiatric patients. This is absolutely insane. And again, it degrades all of us who came here legally. We have to put an end to that, and we will, by making certain that we send a signal on November 5th that we're sick and tired of these craven politicians in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I just interviewed Mayor Trent Staggs here in Utah. He's going to be replacing Mitt Romney, thank goodness. And he was saying that even Utah has had 150,000 illegal immigrant encounters with police in the last couple of years. I had no idea living here in Utah. So it's becoming a problem, tapping into the welfare systems, burdening the emergency rooms, the school systems. And like you said, it's such a slap in the face to, let's say, a 65-year-old man or woman that has worked their whole life paying into Social Security, wondering if it's going to be enough. And then, they get like $1,200, $1,400 a month. And you see illegal immigrants in New York where they're literally spending $21,000 a month on hotel fees on one person. It's an absolute slap in the face. It has to be stopped.
Yeah. And by the way, that hurts working class Americans and seniors the most. It drives up costs. It takes away the social safety net that's intended for American citizens. It drives up the cost of housing, of insurance. It takes away the jobs of working class Americans, suppresses wages, and yet the Democrats pretend they're the party of the working class. The reality is you can't be for the American worker and advocate for these kinds of policies. Sherrod Brown has voted against every single border measure that's been presented in front of the U.S. Congress, called the wall racist, called it stupid, said the situation at the border was a right-wing conspiracy, said his politics and Joe Biden's are basically the same, and yet this guy expects Ohio to reelect him for 6 more years. This guy would probably lose an election in Massachusetts, in California, and New York because he's too radical for them, let alone Ohio. That's what we're going to expose this fall, Stephen, and make certain that the people know really what Sherrod Brown's all about.
Yeah. It cracks me up when people say that having a border wall or a secure border is racist, because I talk to legal Mexicans and they want a wall. I talk to legal people from China. They want a wall. Like it disenfranchises all of the effort that people who came here legally made. And then to see people, like you say, skip the line and get all of these benefits. You brought up California. I don't know if you saw this morning, but Governor Gavin Newsome announced California is in such bad financial situation that they must scale back policing, public safety, and the number of people they send to prison. So the highest tax state in the country is going bankrupt and has horrible, horrible criminal activity. And their answer is defund the police versus defund the illegal immigrants. What are your thoughts on this story?
No, we have to rise up against this and make certain that we make our voice heard this election. This election is about the fundamental direction of this country. Last year, Stephen, you may know this number, the United States spent $451 billion housing and taking care of illegal aliens in this country. $500 billion. We could have built every one of the 35,000 homeless vets a beautiful home for 1/100th of that amount of money. This is what's depraved about the other side. This is not the Democrats of the 80s and 90s. These are left-wing loonies that we have to pry control of this government out of. There may be some reasonable Democrats out there. Sherrod Brown isn't one of them. Joe Biden isn't one of them. We have to rescue them from the fact that they've been totally and completely hijacked by the most extremists in their party. And we have to put this country back on track. We have one shot to do this, and it's November 5th.
Yeah. You've been following all of the crazy trials against the former president. Why do you think President Trump, despite all of these legal cases and these fake convictions, continues to rise in popularity, rise in the amount of money raised, rise in the polls? Why is Biden sinking at a time when he should be rising?
Well, first of all, Joe Biden is objectively a moron. People see that. On top of the fact that he's completely senile, is an embarrassment to the world. He's projecting incredible American weakness, which is causing instability in every corner of the globe. President Trump, on the other hand, we saw what he did. This is a very, I think David Sachs said it well, it's a very A-B scenario. We know what life was like under President Trump. Prosperity, peace and stability, low interest rates, secure border, dramatically less crime. And you saw now what 3.5 years of Biden is, the exact opposite in every one of those metrics. We can't afford, the middle class of this country cannot afford 4 more years of Joe Biden and Biden economics. They see that. They also see these sham criminal proceedings for what they are. It's pure election interference. It's turning us into a banana republic. You know, my parents both passed away, Stephen. They would be absolutely heartbroken to see the country that they brought their children to become more like countries in the continent that we left than the America that they aspired to come to. People also realize that once they're done with President Trump, they're going to go after all of us. So this is not just a scenario where the weaponization, the lawfare attacks one man. It's attacking all of us. He just happens to be at the tip of the spear of that fight.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on these happened within a couple of days of each other, about 10 days ago or so. But President Biden goes to Morehouse College, a predominantly Black university, and tells the students there, your country hates you. You're a victim. You'll probably be killed. And even though you love your country, it doesn't love you back. You juxtapose that with the Bronx, New York Trump rally, where he talks about, we're going to make the country great again. Can I talk about success for a minute? You've got to work hard. You've got to have a dream. You've got to, not give up, keep going. When you listen to those two speeches, what is President Biden thinking, and why wouldn't people get behind Donald Trump's optimism?
Well, I think they will. I think you're going to see a record amount of the Black vote turn up for President Trump. I think he wins the Hispanic vote outright. I'd be the first Hispanic elected statewide in Ohio. For sure, we will win it here. But the Black vote is starting to really come around. They're sick of this culture of low expectations. They think that because your skin color is a certain way or heritage is such and such, that all of a sudden you need help and you need them to save us. That is disgusting. It's actually very racist. Even Barack Obama gave a completely different speech to Morehouse College when he was in the Oval Office. The reality is Joe Biden represents the worst of the Democrat Party, this white liberal elites that look down on the rest of America, think minorities somehow need their help and saving. It's gross. It's racist. And like I said, watch on November 5th. You will see the Black vote and the Hispanic vote turn out for President Trump in historic ways, as it should. Life for Hispanics, for women, for minorities was dramatically better under President Trump than it's been for Joe Biden. They see that, they feel it. They're not going to buy into their garbage any longer.
As you've traveled the state, giving speeches and shaking hands, meeting people, Biden's approval rating as of this morning was 35%, the lowest of any president in like 80 years. What are the topics or the worries or the concerns that citizens in Ohio bring up to you that maybe others are feeling around the country?
Well, first of all, I still don't know who those 35% are, by the way, because my God, how do you even look at this president and say he's not a complete national embarrassment to this great country? What I hear is the issues that we've talked about: illegal immigration, the idea that our government takes better care of foreign citizens in foreign countries than they do of the United States. Look at that temporary pier in Gaza, $320 million embarrassment. What we could have done with that in Toledo, Ohio, in Cleveland, created world-class ports that would have been transformational for the state. I think there's a sentiment that says we have to take care of America before anything else. We're strongest abroad when we're strong at home. This America First movement is something that I hear in everywhere, every corner of the state. They're sick of these career politicians who go down there for themselves to enrich themselves and their families in a way that you couldn't even imagine. I think our founders would be disgusted by what these people are, these lifelong career politicians. This is what's got to change. I hope that there's a viewer out there, Stephen, that's looking at me in my race and saying, you know what, I've been blessed by this country. I've done really well here as a result of living in America and working hard. And think about running for office, for going to Washington, D.C. to serve, knowing that at a fixed period of time, you're going to come home. That's one of the things that I hope happens as a result of my election.
Yeah, I'm hoping that for you as well. Okay, final question. I know you're busy. A couple of days ago, the biggest trending thing on Twitter was President Biden's mental capability. I guess a White House aide had leaked that he's falling asleep during key meetings. He's confused at what's going on. He's mixing up world leaders, countries, the problems that they're dealing with, what's going on in our own United States. How dangerous is it in your mind to have the leader of the free world dealing with an inability to stay cognitive during important, crucial meetings, the person leading the military? What are your thoughts on this leaked information?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily concerning. We have to get through the next 5 to 7 months and hope that this lunatic doesn't take us into World War III. We all age differently. You look at President Trump and people like my friend Roger Penske, who's 86 years old, as sharp as could possibly be. I mean, this guy's got the mind of a 40-year-old. Joe Biden never had a great mind to begin with. And he's obviously aged in a very tough way. It's sad to watch. It's actually, I think, elder abuse. It shows you how depraved these people are. Why they would want to die in office is absolutely beyond me. I see the same thing with Sherrod Brown. 50 years of being in elected office. He wants 6 more years. Dude, is that really what you want? What your family wants is for you to be at that stage of your life, that decline, so public, because you want political power? It's very sad to see. We have to change that, Stephen. Let's get a new generation of leaders, people like JD Vance, that go out there and fight for the America First agenda and put this country back on track.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for you. I think it's going to be a great November 5th. I'm very optimistic for the direction of this. And I feel like the energy is changing, even though these crazy Democrats are using the justice system in a really inappropriate and gross way. The American people see past it. They see President Trump as strong, as a good leader. They have nostalgia for the Trump era, when people had more money in their pockets, more affordable gas, more affordable groceries. So I think people are looking forward to that. Where can I point people, Bernie, to learn more about your campaign and support you?
Yeah, they can go on BernieMoreno.com, go on the website, chip in a few bucks if they can, sign up to be volunteers. This is a national race. This race determines control of the United States Senate, plain and simple. We need all of your help. Every scumbag dark group organization in America is going to be supporting Sherrod Brown. We have to have patriots that support my campaign and my election. I won't let them down. We're going to put this country back on track. And Stephen, you said something really important. The best of America is yet to come. We will prevail in November. We're going to get this country back on track. We'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of the greatest country in the history of the world in a little bit over 2 years. And when we do, we're going to be very happy that we got this country back on track, and we fought like heck to get there over the next 5 months.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you very much for coming on, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, we're out.